I believe this weekend my wife wants me to try my hand at building a planter box, and I did want to use one of these devices in that project just to, for like basically to kind of structurally put the device together and then come back and put in some outdoor screws. That probably won't happen though, because I still need to reach out to the company that I'm looking into to get dowels, and I want to get some dowels that are good for outdoors. And then same thing with the domino. I believe they make a Sipo, I think is the name of the wood, and that's for outdoor projects. Now, I may be able to go to Woodcraft to pick up some Sipo dominoes to be able to work with either one of the dominoes, but I'm not quite sure I'm going to have time to do that this weekend, especially if I have to try to build this planter box. I'm hoping to get back on finishing this cabinet build, but I need to go to my lumber store to get some more 2x4s, because what I'm going to do is actually cut it up into, I don't know if I'm going to use, I may just use this thickness and basically square off the ends, maybe make the pieces maybe like an inch wide or something like that, or maybe 1.5 inches wide, something like that. And I'm going to actually glue them all together and make a butcher block style top. So I'll basically put them through the joiner, put them through the planer to square them all up, cut them into strips, and then re-glue them together and make that the top for that little CDX cabinet that I'm building. So that's another thing that I'm working on. I am looking into, I wanted to get a paint sprayer. I actually a while ago bought a Graco hand sprayer that didn't work out. And then so I was looking at the bigger floor model Graco sprayer, but now I'm kind of backtracking and considering just getting me like one of those Harbor Freight paint guns and practicing using my air compressor to watering down the paint to paint. Because once I finish that CDX cabinet, I think I may just spray some paint on it. I know it's not going to look great because of the way CDX plywood looks, but the goal is for me to kind of practice all of these different specialties, if you will, to try to grow my general skill set. Some other things that I'm considering doing, since I've invested so much money in these joinery devices, I'm actually seriously considering getting 2 more. And the reason being is, since I'm buying these with my own money, then I feel like my opinion on them, even though it's going to take me some time to become proficient with them, it would be an honest opinion from someone who's actually purchased them. And like as I said, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, so I can actually kind of tell you what my thoughts are from one device to the other. Now, the other 2 devices that I'm considering is the Mafell DD40P, which is the more powerful version of this that goes up to 16mm dowels, and then the other machine would be the Lamello Zeta P2 cordless, which is I think it's released now, so I'm considering both of those tools. And obviously if I get them, I would do an unboxing, and then they would go into this little shootout, if you will, or basically comparison. And it would be, as I said, it would be a perspective from someone who is not a professional in the trades, who is not sponsored in any way. And people can put together whatever conclusion they want to put together about these machines, and whether it would be something worth buying or not buying. A small little backdrop on why I bought my original domino was simply, we were in the market for a dining room table, which I didn't build, but when I was looking into building one, this tool came up on my YouTube, and I started watching it, and I became infatuated with it. I actually was under the illusion or assumption that basically I could just throw this at a piece of wood and out would come a table. Obviously, that's not the case. There's a learning curve to all of these tools here, and my curiosity has gotten the better of me, because, you know, once I bought the Domino or started researching the Domino, that's how I learned about the bigger Domino. That's how I learned about the DDF40, and then also the Zeta P2. And you realize they're similar machines, but they're not the same machine. They're similar in their application, but they don't do things exactly the same. You know, as I was saying with the Zeta P2, you know, you're looking at, because of the type of mortise that it cuts, you want things, in my opinion, to be like 3.5 inches wide or larger, just because of how wide that these actual fittings are and the groove that's cut. You're not going to take that and actually use that on a piece of 1/2 inch stock, or, you know, 1/2 inch wide stock. Whereas you could get away with that with the Domino. You can get that away with that with the DDF40, with the attachment where you actually can just use one bit or the other to join things together, like small face frames and such. The other thing, reason why I'm kind of tackling this section of the woodworking market is joinery is at the center of a lot of these things. I have used pocket holes before. I don't have any objection to them. I do have a Craig Foreman in the shop, as well as the regular benchtop Craig jigs, which I have used. And the main thing, obviously, pocket holes when you're building furniture don't necessarily look the most appealing, but they're doable. But one of the things that I kind of ran into is, like, when you're kind of assembling things with pocket holes, things have a tendency to shift if you don't clamp them down, or if you don't do things, or get misaligned. And so I've had all these crazy ideas. Like, I was considering building kind of like a small, this is going to sound crazy, but like a small outdoor kind of shed, but it was going to be like on caster wheels, so I can kind of move it around. I know it sounds ridiculous, but in my mind I was thinking, I wonder if I could take something like a Domino or a DDF40, and, like, say for instance, when I'm assembling this thing, because, you know, if you're building something on your own, right, and you're trying to hold the board up on end, say you're building a frame, right, and say I put my mortise in and I take, you know, this, you know, and put it in, and I, you know, and say this is actually like vertical, right, and I'm building my frame, and I put it and I dry fit it all together, and it's all held up at, you know, 90 degrees, and then I could come back by and put in my screws, or well, I'm probably going to be building with screws, because I like to be able to take things apart and put them back together, just to, you know, if I'm not happy with the end product, as opposed to using like my framing nailer. I see that as more permanent, because I've pulled nails out before, and it could be challenging. You might have to get out the grinder, or, you know, you're trying to pull those nails out, whereas you could just use a screwdriver and just unscrew them. But using devices like these as like alignment tools, building like just regular types of things that I know construction workers don't do. Like, if I use my MFT table to, you know, machine all my studs, you know, and cut them all to length, and then, you know, build a shed like that, to where all my studs are kind of, you know, operating, or basically, you know, all squared up, and just kind of a systematic flow. Because since I am not a professional, and I don't have as much time as someone that does this for a living, my thought is thinking more like a factory, how a factory would work. Like, if you had a CNC machine, it actually works within tight tolerances to cut out all the pieces. And I'm like, well, say I wanted to build a cabinet, and, you know, you got your sides, you got your top, you got your whatever. Well, what if you built an MFT table, something similar to this, where it was set up and designed to where, you know, if you wanted to cut out a specific section, like the sides, you made an MFT table for the sides, and that's all you do. You throw your piece of wood up there and cut, and you have your side. Now, I know you have the adjustability of dog holes and all of these things to get those results, but for me, the way my mind works is thinking about how to make something, how a machine would do it, how a machine would, you know, like when they assemble cars and such, you know, a machine would do one part, and then another part, and then another part, and they don't do everything at the same station. the machine moves down the production line, and a different machine does one element, another machine does another element. So my thought is, if a person was not a professional, did not do this for a living or whatever, if they was able to take, you know, tools like these to try to get more accurate placement of fasteners and such, and they use proper squaring devices to measure things up, and they use, you know, they developed a decent technique, and they actually made something that would enable you to maybe cut out the sides for all your standard cabinets, right? To where you could take a piece of 4x8 piece of plywood, set it on a table like this, cut your side to, you know, whatever width or length you wanted it to be, and then you cut off your edge. And I know you can use your parallel guides and different things like that, or your end stops or whatever, but imagine if you had, like, say, a small table, or, you know, even a big table, where you butt it up and everything was built to where, you know, when you butt it up, you pull down your rail or whatever, and you cut without thinking, without adding anything to it. The same way that this is 32 millimeters on center, I don't have to think about it. That's just the way it is. If I had to stop here, if I had a specific table, and I slid my board down up against this table, I can kind of demonstrate this, right? I designed a table to where if I slid the board down and I touch this area here, I build it square. I build it totally square to where all I do is slide my board here, pull down my rail, and I cut, and that's my side piece. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this may be a crazy way to think about it, but I'm thinking more like how a machine does things as opposed to how we as human beings do things. We have a lot more artsiness to us, and so I noticed that the people that are the most efficient when I watch them on YouTube are people that do things in a very systematic way, but they have the experience of knowing how to work with, like, rails and fences and different types of tools, so they can move things back and forth and get the specific results that they want. But, like, if in this garage I wanted all of my cabinets to be a particular size, spot on to that size, well then, I guess what I'm saying, if I built a jig that enabled me to machine my plywood from a 4x8 sheet all the way down to all the sections that I need, to where it requires basically no thought. So imagine a system like that. So you would start off with a big table to cut down your big part, and then you would progress over to each station to get your stuff down to that final order. And as I said, I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I know I'm talking about what people already do, but the way that I see it, the way I understand it, doing something the most efficient way, doing it the same way, is going to give you the most stable results. And, like, if a person was ever to decide that they wanted to you know, sell something, like if you're making artwork, fine, you know, a painter doesn't have to paint every painting exactly the same way. But when you go to IKEA and you buy a bookshelf of a certain size, certain dimensions, you're expecting, if you buy a second one, for there to be no variation. When a custom person comes into your house to build furniture, they build things and they make it as perfect as they can get it, especially if you're building on site. But the floors may not be level, the wall may not be, you know, plumb, and so they have to build around that. And so they may be creating more of an illusion that something is perfectly square, perfectly right. So when you walk in and you look at it with the eye, it looks perfectly fine. But that's why, like, if you go to IKEA and you buy something that came off of a CNC machine and you put it in your room and your room's not square, it doesn't sit square up against the wall, right? And so I'm speaking more so for myself, not for anyone else. All houses have different size rooms. You know, you've got big houses, small houses, you got all these different types of houses. And so the best thing is not always going to IKEA and picking out what's on the shelf. It seems to me that if you wanted to get the most out of your space, whether it's a big space or a small space, you would want to have custom furniture all throughout your house so that you would be maximizing the use of that space. You would want to build furniture that has multiple functions, like whether it be storage, whether it be storage, and then also, you know, for your level of comfort and your design style. Me personally, I don't have a problem with older furniture, but I'm more of a modern, sleek, straight lines type of guy. And I feel like I'm closer to doing that than basically like routing out all kinds of like flowers and pomegranates on some wood and putting that on some kind of decorative piece. That's not my thing. I'm not really into that. So I'm just concerned about making straight lines. That's one of the things that's gotten me into this Festool system, is everything working off of the guide rail, right? And so I don't have to trust my hand being straight. I don't have to have 30 years of carpentry experience to get a straight cut on a cabinet that I want to build. All I need to do is invest in a particular system that's already done it for me, and then take that system and adapt it to my needs for what I want to do. And in the meantime, with you know, platforms like YouTube, who knows how long YouTube is going to last, but with platforms like YouTube, it gives you the ability to even potentially, you could develop an audience like some people do, and that could possibly, you know, generate income for you. Or maybe someone sees you build something and you do a decent job, it could generate sales for you. That's a reality. That's something that actually can happen when you teach yourself how to do something. Anyways, completely rambling off the subject. This was supposed to be about these devices, and I've kind of gone off the deep end, but that's okay, because here, you know, on my Daddy Share Space channel, it's not meant to just be a woodworking channel. It's not just meant to be a construction channel. It's not meant to just be a gaming channel. It's not meant to just be, you know, a concept and theory channel. It may take me a lot longer to get a project done, but that is because I kind of look at this channel more so as a way of life channel. I believe in hard work, but I would prefer to benefit from my hard work first before someone else does. So obviously I can go to work my day job. Maybe some of you know, maybe you don't, but I work in healthcare. I've been working in healthcare for the past 20 years. So this is not my profession, right? So you could judge me against a polished professional woodworker, someone that's on YouTube that's been doing it for years, someone that makes their money off of that. I'm not that dude. I don't make my money off of this type of stuff. I make my money a different way, and I just happen to decide that I want to have a constructive and productive, I don't want to call it a hobby, because I don't see it as a hobby. If I could get my car repaired while I sit down and maybe play Xbox or PlayStation, I would probably opt for that. However, I'm not willing to give a week, 2 week, 3 weeks worth of my salary to someone for that experience, especially when what I've learned from my own personal experience, if you don't understand the job that's being done, then you don't know the quality of work you're getting. And to me, it's like every stone I turn over, I end up just learning, oh, I need to learn more about that topic. Even if I'm going to pay someone else to do it, I need to understand what I'm paying for. And if I'm going to put in the effort to understand what I'm paying for, oftentimes I find that I might as well just do it. That's just my mindset. It's not against someone else. I just realized that, I mean, I'm going to benefit more by taking my free time, investing in stuff like this. You know, I've seen, you know, I have 3 daughters. I've seen many women on YouTube working on cars, working in woodworking and carpentry. So that means if I develop this skill, like someone who's a 3rd, 4th, 5th generation carpenter, if I learn these things, I can pass this on to my children. So anyways, guys, I'm rambling out the gate. I do have many other topics that I want to talk about, many other subjects that I want to touch on, and I will be making more videos of all kinds of different things. You're welcome to join me anytime, and I just appreciate everyone that does take the time, and I you know, I'm hoping that some of the things that I'm talking about may resonate with others. This is not a bragging contest. This is not a whatever. This is a self-discovery thing. This is for me to grow as a man, and to understand what I am capable of, you know. And I've not closed really any doors to trying to grow, trying to learn. You know, I was asked about my CDX cabinet build, which is sitting over there leaning up against the wall. And you know, I would be embarrassed right now to turn the camera around and show you my shop, because it's a complete disaster. Once I pulled out all my lawn equipment, which was put up for the winter, it was actually behind this wall. I pulled it out and laid it in the center of my garage, and now I'm trying to figure out a solution to where I can access that lawnmower and cut the lawn once or twice a week, weed eat, trim, but to where it doesn't get in the way of when I want to do my woodworking projects. Haven't figured it out yet, because I built 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 of these wall carts, which I thought was a great idea at the time, and it's kind of cool, but it's taking up a whole lot of floor space. I mean, like, the room is just getting smaller and smaller. You know, you add that to the table that I made for my MFT, my table saw stand, this MFT table here, my router table stand, my drill press stand, which I have one drill press stand, 2 bandsaw stations. They're all on wheels, so they move around, but it's almost like a game of Tetris, because now I'm finding myself having to weave between them. Hence why I was talking about cutting down my wall cart, so I can kind of push them outside and create a little bit more space so that I can actually get in the shop and do projects like I would really like to. So anyways, let me cut off this video here. I have so much more to say, and it will be in other videos. I apologize up front. You may see, if you're a person that's actually subscribed to this channel, or if you're a person that's put on notifications or whatever the case may be, let me apologize up front. I kind of batch do things, and because I work a 40-hour-a-week job, and I do have 3 daughters, I do have my wife, all of these things, I have other responsibilities. So when I get that itch, I just jump in with both feet. And I may put out, you know, as many videos as I can in one day. It's not to be offensive. It's not to, like, oh, let me just generate as much content. It's because I do it when I can, right? And then I may go, like, I think most recently I went almost like a month, or I did go a month where I didn't do anything, because sometimes I have to regain that balance. Because recognize and realize this: I work a regular job, I do have family, I do pretty much everything for myself, right? And on top of that, I'm the one that's coming up with these video ideas. I know they're not great, I know. I'm the one that's actually setting up all these shops. I'm the one that's recording these videos. And if you look on YouTube, I've watched plenty of videos where people have made videos that are way better than mine, and they say they're spending 7, 10, whatever amount of hours editing video. I didn't realize editing video was going to take so long, that it would be so complicated, so complex. You can make basic videos fairly easily, but trying to make sure your sound's right, trying to make sure your color is right, these are all things that I'm learning on the fly. I'm learning the software on the fly, of using DaVinci Resolve, of using, you know, all of these different things. All of this stuff I'm learning at the same time, while I learn how to plant grass, while I learn how to build, while I learn how to work on my cars more. I'm just doing a lot, you know, and it's in hopes of having something in my being that I can teach my children, that doesn't require them to actually go to college and get in $1 billion worth of debt. Anyways, I'll stop this video here. I plan on doing some videos about some other things that's coming up. That I've already have. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Take care.